We've been covering a series that has been What's Wrong with the Church. And we looked at the book of Ephesians. And as we were going through the book of Ephesians, we came to Ephesians chapter 5 and we talked about oneness. And as we talked about oneness, we came and mentioned one of the areas of oneness is the area of finances. And as I was reflecting on that, I said that one of my regrets, and I speak openly about it, one of my regrets is that I wish I had better money skills in my earlier years. And because I didn't have good money skills in my earlier years, there's no one to blame, possibly myself. I don't know who to blame. I made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. I came to learn later and start to understand more about financial literacy. But as I came to learn later, I came to learn that by the time you make a transition, when you cut that bend from illiteracy to literacy, it takes years. And it takes time. And I said, and one of the decisions we made is that can we get an opportunity to talk about money? Talking about money. Today, the church we're not talking about giving, because when the pastor holds the mic and talks about money, you know where he's going. He's going to the place, sasa mtoe, you need to give, tithe, nini, No, we want to talk about money. How we manage our money. Because money matters. And so today we are privileged to have someone come who will talk to us, speak to us about money. Someone who has learned about money, someone who is passionate, not just about what they have learned, but also passionate about teaching others about money. And so today we are privileged to have with us Waceke Nduati. Waceke Nduati I have known for over 10 years. From the time we were in Nairobi, Chapungong Road, Waceke is a lady I could turn to and talk to and have either meet with couples or meet with somebody who needed financial counsel. Waceke Nduati founded a company or an organization. She's a founder of an organization that is called Centonomy. Have you heard about Centonomy? You have heard about Centonomy? Waceke Nduati is the lady behind Centonomy. This was founded about 17 years ago. And the mission of Centonomy is to teach people, one, to be purposeful about creating wealth so that they may live their life to the full or live their life abundantly. Today, she's going to talk about making sense. And when I talk about making sense, it is sense with a C and a T. Okay, making sense. C-E-N-T-S. And so it is our hope, it is our prayer that today's sermon on making sense is going to help us make sense out of sense. And she has written a book by the same name called Making Sense, which is available at the table at the back. You can be able to get yourself a copy. I will encourage us to do that because I think learning about money is critical and is very, very important. She is a mother of a teenager by the name of Sheha, and they're actually members here at Nairobi Chapel Karen. It's what we've been talking about. It's what we've been talking about, that we can start to identify what gifts do you have here, that you may use those gifts to bless the people here. And Waceke is here today to bless us with the gifts that God has given her. Karibu sana Waceke. Let's welcome Waceke Nduati. Karibu sana.
Good morning, church. I was telling when he approached me to come and say something on money on the pulpit. I've worked with churches before, but it's always after. There's a small room somewhere where people can go after. But when the pastor said, no, you'll be the main sermon, and he's like, I told him, do you know, it has always been my dream. I think I wrote it in my journal at one time to give a sermon on money. Yeah? So God works in mysterious ways. Yeah? Yeah. So my name is Waceke Nduati, and leave everything he said, which sounds so nice. Yeah? But if you're waiting to hear from somebody who doesn't make mistakes with money, has never made mistakes with money, that's why they teach about money, somehow they just got it perfect, you may leave church now. That is not the person standing in front of you. I am here because for some reason, God decided I will go on a journey with money. And so that we remove all shame, there's nothing you can tell me that can make me judge you. I mean, me and those, did I invest in pyramid schemes? Yes. And I know there are some of you here. Have I been conned in land? Yes. Everything. Have I started and tried to invest in a business I know nothing about? Yes. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep the examples coming. I'm in the same WhatsApp group. Okay? So, interestingly, though, my background was with money. I studied, first of all, a business degree. Then I did masters in banking and finance. Then I did a master's in professional accounting. Then when I came back, started working, I worked with property at some point. I worked in insurance at some point. I worked with fund managers at some point. Have I left anything out? Oh, I was a stockbroker at one point as well. Then I also did research. What would you expect somebody with that background has? Yeah. Yeah. This is when knowledge is not behavior. Yeah? We have knowledge, and some of us work in places where sometimes we don't accept we should be because we're like, but I know. Don't you go sometimes you're like, but I know better than that. So a lot of the things we talk about money, you're not going to hear for the first time. If I just came and said the answer is to save and invest, have I told you anything you don't know? And to budget? No. Then we have to ask then why? Why don't we do it? So me who had all that, why didn't I actually do it? So I believe just God put me on earth to turn my messes into a message. Yeah, you just make the mistakes and turn and then be able, because you've made mistakes, other people will tell you about their mistakes, and then all this can become a work of knowledge that is based on actual human experience. Yeah? So let's go back to the story. Yeah? And if you could go to the next slide. Yeah? Why do we relate to money the way we relate to money? No, there's a slide before. Yeah. Okay. Who taught you about money? Yeah, nobody. But you learned something from somewhere. Where did you pick it up from? Life, parents, yeah, TV, being a parent. Shows, but can you imagine, money is so important, but while we were learning the periodic table in school, some of you may have used it, but once I did that Form 4 exam, I forgot it instantly. Yeah? We were never, this thing that we're all going to have to handle in life, it was never taught to us. But what were you, the day you started earning your first income or salary, you opened your first business, what were you expected to be able to do? Manage money. Then we keep wondering, how come we got it? We got challenged. We got maybe some of it right, some of it wrong. Yeah? So the first word I put up there is experiences. Somewhere you had an experience with money. Somewhere. It may be a positive experience. It may be a less positive experience. Yeah? When I go back and people ask me, how come you ended up in business? When I go back, I realize that was what was put in front of me. So it was almost going to be natural I end up in business. When I was growing up, when we'd go to school and we were asked, what do your parents do? I was one of those kids. I was like, oh my goodness, what do they do? What do they do? Yesterday there was a new milling. I went to you can't park the car because there's a new machine there. It's supposed to do this. Then there are farmers. Then there are DJs. Then I don't know what has been bought. Two cars have been bought in the house because they are being sold tomorrow. So me, I just knew that then there are flowers being sold. Then there's Tupperware being sold. So I was like, okay, that's just how life works, yeah? So when people had a clear answer as to what their parents did, accountant, lawyer, I was like, oh my goodness. When it comes to my turn, what do I say they do? Yeah? But those, I think so later when I connected my drive to be in business, I was like, okay, it would have made sense. Yeah? Because that is what I observed. Yeah? I observed people hustling. Yeah? So we've got an experiences that create a way of thinking. They write a program in our heads and it becomes our patterns. Let me go closer to home to money. And I give this example with my father's permission because it is also in the book which he had to read first before I published the book. When I was 10 years old, there was a birthday party. You know those parties where later you look on and you're like, clearly, me, I thought it was my birthday party. But why were there only 3 children and 20 adults? But me, I thought it was my birthday party. But anyway, the adults came together and gave me 950 shillings. Then, I won't tell you my age, yeah? Then. That was a lot of money. And I didn't even take 50 bob to buy sweets. I gave it to my dad because somehow I knew save. Why? My mom is an economist. So she would talk about things like that. And those days, if you're old enough, you remember people used to save at Post Bank. And there used to be a little card you get. Yeah? So that's what I wanted. So at night that time when my dad came to say goodnight to me, I gave him all the 950 shillings. Then, trusting that I have put my money the right person. He said nothing until I was 18 years old. I was of age for the money to come back. And I knew by this time it should have accumulated to something. I wasn't clear how much, but something. He was like, what money? So I told you I grew up in the house of Mara. One day we are doing this, Mara, one day we are doing that. So you can imagine that money found itself somewhere. Somebody needed some hardware for something, yeah? And the money was used, yeah? But I think that experience, I think for me at some point, because, and I think as you're here, I know you're probably guilty with your own children. Please don't break their financial hearts at that age, yeah? Because I never got to see if it had grown. And we were doing the maths with the pastor the other day, and we were like, it should have been at least 10,000 shillings, but I was given 2,000 shillings and told to open a savings account, which I opened the savings account, and 2 weeks later, that 2,000 shillings was out of the savings account. But can you see the experience? Because I didn't see money accumulating. Now I can realize instinctively I didn't see the need to keep money. And I went through a whole cycle of life, working abroad, working here, fairly decent income, knowing how to invest, investing for people, clients who take me out for lunch because I've told them which share to buy and they've bought money. Me, I'm happy I'm taken out for lunch. Can you see the problem? Yeah? Right? Do I buy the same share? No. The one I'm telling them to buy. Yeah? So my pattern, my money just became in and out because I was like, my belief system around money became when you have money, just spend it. But as I was 10-year-old, had it been kept and had seen it accumulate, there's possibility that the belief system would have been able to check in and see actually money actually accumulates. So it's only way past the age of 30, I started thinking about money. So you have an experience, and it could be anything. It's even how you observed people treated, how the rich uncle was treated and how the not so rich uncle was treated. What we were always told, money does not grow on trees. But I've worked with many farmers who think differently. Actually, money is literally growing on the tree. But it creates a way of thinking about money which is either going to be limited or what we call scarcity, or it's going to think actually it can be done. And as I was starting Centonomy, because that is why Centonomy started, me realizing about my own personal financial mistakes and what led to it. As I started it, this verse always used to come into my head, Matthew 13:12, yeah? And it always used to say, whoever has, more will be given, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken away from him. And I used to tell God, that is so mean, yeah? But now when I connected it to money and from a point of mindset more than anything else, when you are broke, tell me, what are you doing at the exact moment you're talking about being broke? Let's say you have only 1,000 shillings and you're feeling broke. What do you then do? Spend, yeah? So most likely you go get another friend who's also feeling broke, correct? Then you go for coffee, correct? And what do you complain? How broke you both are. Okay? How the economy is bad. etc. Anything to justify the fact that you are broke. Okay. What has happened in that sitting to your 1,000 bob? It has become somebody else's, and it has become 300 bob. A zero, yeah? So whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken away. So if you already can't see the value of 1,000 bob, because that same day somebody has taken that same 1,000 bob, gone and made mandazis, sold them at the end of the day, and has made money with 1,000 bob. So two people have seen 1,000 bob in exactly different ways. And I started this because I had to see the value of 300 bob. When I started business, there was no more salary, and I once went to the bank account, to the ATM, and the ATM laughed at me for attempting to withdraw money. When the ATM literally laughs. And then it enters your head, maybe I should go across over the counter. But then by the time they do all those charges. And I started calculating the value of 300, which I'll come to, even if it's not today, in next week's discussion, the value of 300. But let me give you some insight. Without, you know how when you don't have money, you remember how much money you used yesterday? 300 times 30. So if you'd use 300 bob a day without thinking, which I used to do, 300 times 30 is 9,000 shillings. 9,000 times 12 is 108,000 shillings. There is the answer to your financial problems. We may end the service. Yeah? Yeah? So that's what 300, and it can do so many things, and I'll come to that later. Yeah? But if you can go back up, yeah? Go back up after this slide, yeah. So we have this cycle. We know better. We want to do better, yeah? But we have a way of relating to money and a way of thinking about money, I'm broke, that shows up in our patterns. It shows up in how we spend money. It shows up in our relationship to investments. It shows up in the choice to use debt or not. It shows up in and black tax is another conversation for another day, but everything in your patterns is showing up from a belief system that you have. So it is our job to be aware of what that system is and then ask ourselves, what am I going to do about it? Yeah? So we have a communal belief system. Yeah? Okay, she's looking at that. We work hard. Okay, yeah, this. We work very hard. Our problem is not that Kenyans, we don't work hard. That is not our problem. Along the way, we are saying happiness is around the corner. Let me earn more money or fulfillment or purpose, whatever it is. Okay? Then when you earn more money, what happens? You buy more things. And buy more things could also be more expenses. Yeah? Food is more expensive. Fuel is more expensive. School fees is more expensive. Or the choices you're making. Let's now move from this place to this place and it is more expensive. Yeah? So what do we have to keep going to chase this ever elusive happiness? We have to work harder. Then we earn more money. Then we buy more things. Keep going. Work, earn more. Can you see why we'll never get out of this? What needs to stop? It's not the working that's a problem. It's not even the earning that is the problem. It is that, yeah? When instantly you get, it's an instinctive response we have with money. When you get money, if today Pastor Kebibi said, I'm so glad all of you came to church to learn this, as you walk out, there's 100,000 shillings for you. Tell me automatically where your mind has gone. Or not what you think you should do, where automatically your mind went to. Holiday, yeah, all right. I've been eyeing that new Samsung, yeah, and this could be YOLO. You only live once. I know Waceke was saying all those things, but you only live once. That's for the next 100K when it comes, yeah. So because those patterns, when we repeat them over time, they actually become an instinct. You get money, it goes. And for me, that's the life I was living. I get money in, it goes. You get money in, you get money in, it goes. So we have to choose. Yeah, next slide. We have to choose who is going to rule our lives. Because if you really want to create wealth and get ahead with money, there are two, even the Bible says you can't serve two masters, yeah? Even with money, something has to be priority. Not that you can't enjoy certain things, but something has to priority. Is it our lifestyle or is it wealth? And with money, we have mistaken wealth because of lifestyle. How would you know somebody is you're sitting next to somebody wealthy? What is it that you would know? Yeah, how would you tell? For example, shoes. Yeah, exactly. Then we're like, she's really wealthy, her shoes. Yeah. When you walk to the car park, correct? And you see the car, they enter, yeah? So all these things, because what has happened, media, see, we say money comes from experiences. Either it's the experiences back to the rich uncle who drove a Range Rover, how he was treated, and you saw that, and you saw the attention which we mistake for respect he got, but it's attention, yeah? We mistake it for wealth. But this is what wealth is so... I like money because money at the end of the day, 1 + 1 is equal to 2. Nobody can ever argue about that, yeah? The day you don't have that income, yes, you are driving that very nice car. The day you don't have that income, can you afford it? So wealth is, very simply, what is working when you're not working. That is how wealthy you know you are. It is not your furniture. And in the Central class, we make people do what they own. And people put all sorts of things which we then tell them, no, sorry, jewelry, furniture, all that is nice, but it has nothing to do with wealth, yeah? What will work the day you don't show up at work? And I faced this example. Or, for those of you how many are in business? Okay. How many are employed? Okay. So this could be a client. It could be your salary, yeah? But let me use a salary, for example. You're paid on roughly between now, the 24th, and the end of the month, right? And you're told by HR, so sorry, there's something wrong with the system. And you know you're supposed to get paid on the today. They just tell you, sorry, just hold off for a few weeks. There's something wrong in the system. What happens to your life? Business people, when your clients don't pay, whether it's a salary the business can't pay you or clients don't pay, what happens? Things start falling apart. We get high blood pressure. Yeah, we get stressed because you're like, I don't have space. So wealth is how much space do you have between that eventuality and life falling apart. That is how wealthy you are. Yeah, so you can have the biggest car, but many people, as I've learned, yeah, are speeding down the highway of poverty in luxury vehicles. Yeah. He told me, Sheka, do you be direct? So, so I don't worry if I offend anybody. He told me, but I was given permission to be direct, yeah? So if you have a problem, see him after. Okay. Yeah? We are, and we hope something will happen to get us out of it. At some point, a deal will come to get us out of it. But the thing is, it's our minds have always related to that, to success, that to doing well. Because wealth usually doesn't announce itself. It really doesn't announce itself. So we have to start calculating, how many moves do I have? Do I even have that? Do I have 3 months? And I saw a lot of this during COVID, where people didn't have 3 months, 6 months, personal savings, or even through the businesses, to just survive a couple of months as they figure out what their next steps are. So that's the first thing you want to put in place for yourself. Call it an emergency fund. But if you are lifestyle driven, this is what's going to happen to your life. You will make more money, yes, but because your instinct is to spend, you will spend more. Yeah? You'll spend and maybe save a little. So your instinct becomes work. And then consume. In some sort of way, it's work and consume. You are then working for a lifestyle. So the lifestyle has become the master of your life. Not where you want to go, not your sense of purpose, not how you want to grow, but it is a lifestyle. And lifestyle becomes a prison. It looks good, but it becomes a prison because even though I buy the latest phone today, or I buy the latest car, if I buy the latest phone, does the phone company announce, Waceke has bought the latest. We are now closed for business? No. In 2 months' time, they have another version. So same with cars. You'll get the best parking spot. Yeah, but for how long? Yeah, he will be open for, the watchman will give you the best parking. Then 3 months later, they're like, boss, somebody else has a bigger car. Yeah, so these things are fleeting. You then have to work to eat forever. Yeah, and your lifestyle can be very flashy, but if your income reduces, and which it tends to do over time, yeah, at least the income you get from personally working will reduce over time. Yeah, so your lifestyle also has to go down. You also become, because it's work and consume, you become careless about time. You never question, how else can I use that time? And your spending is driven. This is where we are held captive by other people's opinions. All right? All of us have a dream car, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with nice things. I just want you to put them in perspective. Yeah? I also have a dream car that I want to have. Please put that car in your mind very clearly. And now say, God decided he's zapping everybody to heaven. You're just being left for 3 months. He's coming back for you. Not being left, but everybody has been zapped to heaven. And the world works. It's just that the robots and AI running it. Yeah? But you can still go to the supermarket. Food is still being produced, but actual human beings are not there to respond to you. Will you buy that car? So I see some nods and I see very many no. So today you want that car because of other people. All right? Me, I still want that car. In fact, I'd say, God, can you now deliver the car? So that I can go off-road, bundu bash, yeah, nicely, yeah? Because I want it because I want the experience for myself. So what is being driven by values or what is being driven by other people's opinions? And you find when you're driven by other people's opinions, you're in a hurry because you want to make a statement. You are bound to go do things that get you in a financial hole, like take debt badly because of other people's opinions. When it's later in life, you're like, okay, this can come at the right time. And I can be strategic about when the right time and what allows me to actually afford this. Are we together? Okay. So we want to go the direction of wealth, which I'm certain we will as a church, yeah? You invest more as you earn more. Because your instinct becomes, if I see that 100,000, yeah, now at least I'll say 80,000 of it. How can I invest it? Because that can become 200,000, that can become 300,000. And I invest more because I have a plan and I have a goal, yeah? You focus on exactly the more, multiplying the money. You were told go forth and multiply. Multiply the money and saving most of it. Your instinct becomes to increase. You are then, and this is the difference, you are working to create assets. Yeah? Financial freedom technically will always be your assets are the ones that are going to fund your lifestyle, not your working funding your lifestyle. So the journey we are all on is how do I replace myself in being able to afford my life? Yeah? So for example, if I have bonds, if I think conversations for another time, but if I have something, even let's say I had an apartment giving me rent and I live off that rent, I have an asset funding my lifestyle. Yeah? If something happens to my income, I still get my 50,000 shillings a month. Yeah? So that's a way to think about it. Your lifestyle can start off very modest or can be modest compared to your peers because you're focused on growing assets, not growing the lifestyle. Yeah? You understand the value of time. Yes, we work 8 hours a day. But just from my example, I started writing articles while I was employed. I continued writing articles when I was in Centonomy. Those articles became a book. But it meant outside normal working hours, I'm putting 3-4 hours away a week to think about what articles to actually write. How much time do we spend on things that may not be important. Yeah. So if you are, you go and do this at home. Just take social media, for example. Go and see how much time you actually spend on it. And then calculate it in even a month or a year and say, what could I have done with a fraction of that time? And when we do this, people realize I could have taken a whole course by the time, and that course could have accelerated my career or enabled me to start a business. So even if you're employed, you have a lot of time outside, and you have other assets that we don't use. They may not show up in your finances, but do you know you have non-financial assets? Centonomy started because of a non-financial assets, love for having conversations of money. But I know people who will remain nameless here who are artists, yeah? People know landscaping. Are you the person your friends are always asking you, plan for me this, plan for me this, plan for me? You're so organized. That is an asset. There are people who can create. Yeah, so outside of because we were given multiple talents, what else can you do with that 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours a week that can start generating some extra money? That could fund your groceries, yeah? So you understand the value of time, and your spending is then driven by personal values and choices. This was my most important point for today, my most important slide, yeah? Because if you understand that, yeah, that wealth requires you to take all the resources you have, money and time, and figure out how do I use the combination of that to then create for me savings assets that will give me financial freedom or give me assets that fund my lifestyle, then you've got it. And keep my spending in check, but also when I do spend on those things I like to do, are they in line with my personal values and choices? That is it. Because it's not really about the amount of money. There are many people who have made billions, but they're unhappy. So it's about what has value to me, and then you make, and I quote in my book, money is a tool for the life, but it is not in itself the life, yeah? Because if you say 1 million is enough, well, what will you then want? 3 million. What will you then? 4 million, 5 million. It's actually identifying what is it in my life I want to do, what have I been put here to do, and now can I plan my money so that it can act as a resource and a tool for that? Then you are wealthy. Then you are wealthy, and you just agree to undertake the journey. Okay. Next slide. Are we together? Yeah? I think next week you'll have time to even ask me questions. Yeah? Today I'm just illustrating some points. So we go to whose wealth are we building? Okay? So today I have a calendar there. When we first earn money, who gets paid first? The government, okay? All right, so the government is January, February, March, okay? That is, so 3 months are gone. January, February, March, right? So, for example, I'm using 100,000 for ease of calculation. If I earn 100,000 shillings a month, how much is the government taking? 30%, which is 30,000. 30,000 times 12 is what? Don't say a lot, calculate. We're lying. We're hiding behind when we say a lot. No, we don't want to face it. Yeah? 360,000 shillings. So if I earn 100,000 shillings a month, it means how many months does it take to pay the government? 3.5. So literally we'd be saying in that calendar, January, February, March, yeah, and half part of April is gone. Yeah? The animation isn't working, but we'd have even removed the bars as we go along. Yeah? Done. Okay? You go to work 8 to 5 every day, whatever it is, the first part is done, and this is not a tax evasion talk, so you keep it moving. It is what it is, yeah? Next. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Okay? Next. Tithe. Okay? No, we're still on the other slide. Okay? Tithe. Right? So we can finish April. Yeah? Part of May. Okay? Next. Next, your cost of living, housing. Okay, housing probably take May and June. Next, school fees, July, August. Next, if you want to come to black tax, yeah? Transport, yeah? The parking here is full, say that's a month. September is gone. Yeah? Yeah? Household expenses, October is gone. Activities, black tax, all that, entertainment, doing hair, all that. Okay, so can you see our problem? Can you see our problem? Yeah? Okay. Let me make this come home a bit more. I want you right now to take what you roughly earn every month. Don't overthink it and divide it by 160. Just to yourself. Please, and I'll be able to see who's not doing the calculation. Yeah? If it's an allowance you get, still just use the allowance. Whatever money from wherever you get it, however it comes to you, divide it by 160. So if I had 100,000 and I divide by 160, it comes to 625. If I'm not wrong, yeah? Are we all ready with that number? Okay. So what this shows, because you can see the year has ended, but our expenses have not ended. There's so many things we have not put into this, but the year has ended. We are using money faster than we are earning it. Time and money are very related, yeah? So that number, for example, if you had 100,000 and you divided by 160, it's 625 shillings, is the amount of money you earn per hour. I've taken a typical working day of 8 hours a day, times 5, that's 40 hours a week, okay? Times 4, 160, okay? So if you are being a consultant being paid per hour, that's what you earn per hour. Okay, how do you feel about that figure? Very little. Okay, it takes you 1 hour. You wake up. You know that hard day of waking up of Monday? Yeah, you go. How quickly do you spend it? Do you make a decision to spend it? Does it take you an hour? There. Can you see the problem we are having? Okay? That 625, you spend it without thinking. So now I want you to be questioning how, when you want to leave the basics or spend money somewhere, just calculate, oh, my friends want me to come out for lunch. The bill will be 2,000 shillings. How many hours of labor is that? Is it worth it? You know, when I said spending in line with values, this is when you realize, what do you value, what don't you value, and how much of it don't you actually value. Oh, I want to buy those shoes. How much? A new phone. How many hours of my labor is this phone? Can my 5-year phone? We are fine. Let's keep going. Okay? That. Please, yeah. In fact, as you walk out, because we'll talk about it next week, your experiences this week in using that calculation to make decisions. What you do and what you do not do. And then you find some things you'll be like, this is 10 hours of work, but it's important. I'll do it. Okay? Or we can't forever just say, cut. How can I make another 625 shillings in an hour? I am sitting at home watching Netflix. How else can I use this time? And we start actually questioning that. Yeah. Okay. I think people want me to end the way they are looking at me. Yeah? And they're like, and she has an hour a week. Oh my goodness. All right. Next. So today start thinking about, because it really starts, we don't like this word. We know we should do it. We don't like to hear the word budget. I've met people who think they earn too much money to budget, but they're the ones in most problems. Yeah? And we usually don't like to hear it because we think it's going to restrict us. And humans do not want to feel like they're in a prison. And I get it. I didn't like it for a long time until I saw how it was applicable in my life. Yeah? And we came up with this picture to show people during COVID. Yeah? They think about your expenses. Think about it as a spending plan that tells your money where to go so that you don't wonder where it went. Because at the end of the day, you are the CEO of your money. Okay? The money is the employee. You've got to know where the employee is. That is it. Yeah? And just categorize your expenses into A, B, and C. Okay? You will die without them. Okay? Food, water, rent. I don't know if anything else is in death-related expenses. Yeah? They are completely school fees, completely, essential in your life. B may be important, and I'm not telling you to, I don't actually tell people what to do, but I just make people aware. Then they go and make the choice themselves. B, they're important, but worst case scenario, there's an alternative, okay? Like car, even me, I have a car. But worst case scenario, do we have options? Yes, worst case scenario, yeah? You can walk, yeah? You can Uber, you can public transport. There are options. So as long as there are options, it does not enter an A, yeah? Salon. I say it typically. I say it carefully, unless I'm accosted and told why this is an A. Yeah? At least to some extent. You may be saying there's a portion of it that could be A, there's a portion. Gym. Yeah? Loans, depending, I'll leave that for next week's discussion, but depending on gym, you see there are options. I could run on the road or walk on the road. Yeah? But I'm not saying they are not important. Okay? See, you know them. Oh, we're too tired to cook. Let's go out. Subscriptions, all that. Yeah? A, B, C. Okay? Now, just categorize. So if again back to the 100,000, let's say your 100,000 is A, B, C, and roughly all of them are equal at this point. Yeah? So if something happens, I keep saying wealth is what works when you're not working. And wealth starts with the small amounts of money. If something happens to my source of income and I have 100,000 shillings left, if I continue, what unfortunately I see people is, let me live in denial, okay? Because something will happen. So I continue living A, B, C lifestyle, and I only have 100,000 shillings saved. How long will I last? A month. Let's say I was earning 100,000, making 100,000, yeah? A month, okay? Now, if I decide, let me at least just live on my A, and let's say my A's are 30,000. Remember, when you cut back, doesn't mean you're cutting back forever. Yeah, it's just for something has happened and you need to make choices. Yeah, so this is a plan that gives you control over the choices that you need to make. If I have A, B, C, I'm just going to survive 1 month. But if I just say, let me live off my A's, yeah, and they're 30,000, can you see I'm now giving myself 3 months? And my basics are sorted out, yeah? If I say this portion of B was important and it's 50,000, it's 2 months. But if I live in denial, I'll only survive 1 month. So this tool is the first thing that you set up in your life so that you can make choices on the go. Because money situations do change, yeah? And sometimes it's not a bad situation. Sometimes there's an opportunity in front of you, but you needed 30,000 shillings for the next 3 months. Where do you actually get it from? It's actually from this. It becomes a template in which couples have discussions, families have discussions about how they're actually going to carry out financial decisions. Okay? Next, it allows you to understand that the first thing you need to set up, I mentioned it before, is an emergency fund. If something happened, do you have 6 months worth of at least A in your life? So if something happened, don't treat your savings with A, B, C. Yeah? Did you have 6 months worth of your A expenses to actually ride the wave? That is what you set up. Before exotic investments, that's what should be in your life in a simple savings account or the equivalent of a savings account. Okay, next slide. So, I told you I'll come back to the 300 as I end, yeah? Today, as I said, I went through why it's 108,000 shillings. That can it start your emergency fund or build up your emergency fund? There we go, okay? Over the holidays, those kids we forget we have, and then we are hit with in January. I'm like, did you forget you had children? Why is school fees a surprise? We treat them as an emergency. It's not a surprise. School fees, yeah? It could be prepayment on your debt. It's a holiday. It's fine to a holiday. For me, when I did this calculation, actually, I was like, lunch money is a holiday. So that's where a lot of our money is coming from. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. 300 bob is a cup of coffee, the one you go drink to complain about how broke you are. Yeah, as you destroy the 300 bob. Now, if you have a loan of 500,000 shillings, okay? Now go to scenario A first, okay? If you have a loan, the total interest you will pay over 5 years is 245,000 shillings on that loan. Yes. So if you take a loan based on today's interest rates, your interest alone, without paying even back the loan, will be when they give you small payments of your payment is 12,000 shillings, your total interest over the 5 years will be 245,000 shillings. That's where, yeah, okay? That we'll talk about next week. So, there. Now, if I decide, I have now learned from today's session that 300 shillings a day is something, and that 9,000 shillings, I put it towards my loan repayments, yeah, I will only take 2.5 years to finish the loan now. Can you see how, let me say 300 bob is a cup of coffee, okay? A cup of coffee has moved your debt payment. We're all here we're struggling with debt payments that are eating up into our paycheck. We'll take 2.5 years versus 5 years. Now look at what happens to my interest. Instead of paying 245,000 shillings, just by paying additional interest, yeah, additional payments into the interest, my interest is cut down to 110,000 shillings from 245. So 300, a cup of coffee a day has saved me 134,000 shillings. A cup of coffee a day. Okay, how do you get out of debt? We've been asked this so many times, and I first give the direct answer. You get out of debt. Does anybody want to give me this answer? By paying, thank you, by paying it off. I mean, there's really, if you're sitting there wondering a magic solution to paying debt off, you get out of debt by paying it off. Okay, all right. So the question is not how do we pay back debt? Where does the money to pay off debt come from? This is one of your options. Okay, right. I have a feeling people will run away immediately after church today. Yeah? So it has freed 2.5 years of your life. But what it has then done is that 9,000 shillings can be used for something else. Yeah? So just go to the next slide. Yeah? So now, if that 9,000 shillings, yeah, and I'll break this down better next week. If I invested it for 20 years, which seems like a long time, but it's not a long time, yeah? And just in a normal, between around money market rates at the moment, yeah, you will have, after 20 years, just from a cup of coffee a day, you will have built, because of something that I'll take you through next time called the time value of money, you will have built 6.8 million shillings in assets. A cup of coffee a day will be 6.8 million shillings. So you could be here, you're in your 20s, it will be you in your 40s, you'll have 6.8 million shillings. Ask how many people in their 40s today have 6.8 million shillings in their bank account. They don't. Yeah? So, now next slide, which is, at that point, remember I told you assets should generate income. Yeah? If I just keep it working, it can actually give me income of around 700,000 shillings per year without working. That is what we're calling financial freedom. So a cup of coffee accumulated to almost 7 million shillings a year. That 7 million shillings started making its own 700,000 shillings a year. That is the power of multiplication of money when you're not focused on lifestyle. Yeah, or you have your lifestyle in check and it's balanced, okay? So without working, you are earning 700,000 shillings. Who wouldn't like to be in that position? And now remember, we've only used 300 bob a day. Imagine if along the way, what happens? You earn more money, correct? Then you could make it 500 bob. You could make it 1,000. You could make it 2,000. Bonuses are paid. Lump sums are paid. Things come from somewhere. So even as we talk about 6.8 million shillings, we can do calculations to show you how 30 million shillings is possible. Yeah? Not because of a big deal that came your way, but with small, small steps. Okay? Next slide. So please understand there are, and I'll talk about more next time, not in detail, assets are that. Yeah, because no matter what happens, if I own that, the rentals coming in will sort me out. Faucets look good, but they are that. Okay? I drive that faucet out of the showroom, it loses value immediately. An asset can buy a faucet, but a faucet can't buy an asset. Yeah? So just understand, when it comes to wealth, it's very clear. Do you have assets or faucet? Anything in your life you have been considering an asset. The car that is parked there. Unless while we were in the service, there was an Uber driver doing laps with it. Yeah? And by the time you come out of service, there's 3,000 bob given to you. It is not an asset, yeah? It is not an asset, yeah? So assets do, and this is what we'll talk about next time, three things. They generate an income, they increase in value, or at the very minimum, they keep your money safe. A faucet does not generate income. It depreciates, yeah, and does not keep your money safe. In fact, it's using money, fuel, maintenance, and all that. So do you have assets in your life? Do you have faucets? Yeah? So to wind up, I'm going to give you some assignments to do before next time. In summary, instead of working, the other guy running is working. I want us to start down there. Assets. Assets, your working usually creates the income. Now we want to go to assets are the ones that generate the income that is equal to your expenses or even greater than your expenses. If you have any liabilities, now the cycle of your financial life is being funded by assets, not you working. And then because we have to now think generationally, the asset is what you transfer. That becomes legacy, yeah? You transfer to the next generation while you live off the income. So remember, the asset is supposed to be generational. The income is yours. Yeah, the income you can use, but the asset is generational. Okay? So I want to leave you just with that. Yeah? Wealth is what makes money when you're not working. Yeah? Money is a tool for life, but it is not the life. And obviously, remember the words of Matthew 13:12. Whoever has will be given. And has means you see the value of 300 bob. Yeah, you see the value of 1,000 bob. Whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away. Because you can imagine where people who gamble, they win a lot of money, but you realize it goes instantly. Because even though you're given the money, and if you don't have the right mindset around it, it will be taken away. Yeah? So I'll just end by hoping after this talk, you don't end up like them. Honey, I came up with a retirement plan. We get divorced and marry other people who planned better. So let this not be what happens in your house, yeah? So just allow me 2 minutes to just tell you about Centonomy. So we started this program because we realized money can't be a one-off conversation, yeah? People need to it's like going on a train from Nairobi to Mombasa with your money. What we try and remove here is people deal with money in a very disjointed way. My debt is one way, my spending is one way, my school fees is one way, etc. What we do is put money on the same train for you so it can actually go into the direction. So we run a 12-week program, 2.5 hours per week. And it is online, it's blended. There's a combination of online and physical, but a lot of the classes can be done online, where we take you through module by module for 12 hours. Time investment is 2.5 hours per week. So you go through your personal money management, your budgets, your balance sheet, time value of money, so you can set plans according to what it will cost when you want it to cost. Many times we set goals, but we've not included that the school fees I want to pay will be more expensive then. How to get out of debt. Living abundantly is that part of understanding what truly, truly, truly do you want. We then take you through each type of investment, and then ultimately we wrap it up so that your money is protected and you actually have a financial plan. Even taxes, we can be a tad more efficient with them. Yeah, so we teach you that, and also how to work in investment groups. The details, there's Nancy is going to be at the desk. She's waving her hand right behind there. So you can also get details from her about the class. We also have a class for your teenagers coming up, yeah, and you can have, because we believe they will make better financial choices if we teach them early. So you can find out from Nancy as well what we have for teenagers. If you like hearing what I'm saying, I do have a podcast named after the book as well called Making Sense Conversations. So you can actually log on to that. But I'll be at the back with the desk. As Pastor said, I do have a book I've written around what I've talked about today. It is really about my personal journey with money, but I've picked stories from different people so they can actually illustrate through personal experience how their lives changed. So you'll meet a couple, you'll meet Douglas, who turned non-financial assets into 10 million shillings, yeah? So the book will be on sale and I'll be signing it. It's at a discount of 1,000 bob for today. So for Nairobi Chapel, also for any of our programs, we'll be giving a 10% discount, yeah? So just get information at the desk. I hope that has been worth your morning, yeah? Now, your assignments. For one, you thought I had forgotten? Yeah? That story I told you, experiences, beliefs, patterns. Please go back and find out what's your money story. Go back to when you were a child or things that have happened in your life. For me, I lost money in land, and for a long time, I was very resistant to buying property because it's an experience that traumatized me, yeah? What experiences may be holding you back and causing the patterns that you have? Even if you overanalyze things, it's probably because of some fear, yeah? Then I want you to track each cent that you spend in the next week. Use your phone, yeah? But you pay for parking 50 bob, right? Parking 50 bob. Coffee, right? Bills, right? Just for 1 week. And then you'll come next week with that information. Okay? And remember, as you're tracking your spending, I want you to apply the formula. How many hours does this cost? Okay? Yeah, but track don't underestimate 100 bob, whether it's M-Pesa, cash, card. Track all the money that you have. So next week will be a bit more conversational. I'll highlight certain points, but we will open it up next week for questions as well. So please come also ready with your questions next week. So thank you very much for giving me your attention today morning. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Waceke, for that. I think I was just remembering. You remember the story that Jesus talked about when he talked about the parable of the bags of gold? Do you remember? Where he gave one servant 5 talents. He gave another one 2, and another one he gave 1. And he went for a long time. When he came back, he demanded an accounting on the talents. Do you remember? And when he demanded the accounting on those talents, the one who had 5 had made 10. The one who had 2 had made. The one who had 1. What are we going to do? Thank you very much, Waceke, for that. I can see the way people are looking at me. They are like, you look depressed. What happened? Huh? No, let's say that this will be we are making a turn around. We are making a turn around in terms of our finances. Thank you very much, Waceke. We are looking forward to next week. Asante sana. Asante sana. Have a seat. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. You know, these are the things that possibly we never get to hear and we never get to discuss. And sometimes we never do it in church. But Jesus was very clear. He spoke about money in more than, I think, 2/3 of his parables. Because money matters. And as people, I think, as you have heard from Waceke, that if you divided 160 hours, your income divided by 160 gives you how much you're worth in 1 hour. I think I've picked from this sermon today the value of time, It's something I have picked up on. The one is the value of time, and also the question of investing in assets. So please, let's turn our faucets into assets. And also the question of whose wealth are you building? Are you building wealth for yourself, or whose wealth are you building? How are you prioritizing your money? We will continue with this next week. But as you go home, I will ask us to take time and read that passage of scripture from the book of Matthew chapter 25, from verses 14 to 30. And this is what the master told the man who had come back with one bag. He said, the master replied, "You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown, gather where I have not scattered. Well then, you should have put your money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. And throw the worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." I believe that God will call us to account, not just for finances, but for how we use the time. Because God has given us time for free. But one day we'll be held to account when he will ask, what did you do with what I had given you? What did you do with the gospel of Jesus Christ when it was given to you? What did you do with it? And I think one way is also how we live and how we use our finances as well. Are we accountable people? It is now time to give. As we say here at Nairobi Chapel, Karen, we give because giving is a way of just worship and rejoicing and thanking the Lord. We do it with joy because our God is generous. He has given us everything. So as we give, there are different ways we can give. We do have an M-Pesa pay bill number that is being displayed if you want to use that. We also you can be able to do it by card where you can swipe. We do have a PDQ machine with us. You can write a check to Nairobi Chapel Karen. You can give in cash, and that can be put in the offertory bags that are all to my left and to my right up at the front as the worship team leads us in a moment of song. So allow us to pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for your word today. It is a reminder that, Lord, you have given us a great asset. It is called time. And how we use our time matters, because we will be held to account. Lord, may we be people who are trustworthy in the things that you have given to us. Time, money, resources, relationships, and other things. May we be faithful because you've called us to be faithful. As we give, we are grateful and we worship you, for you have given us every resource that we have. You have made it possible. And so, Lord, today we give with joy and with thanksgiving. In Jesus' name, amen. Worship you. I think we have something to ponder, something to think about. And thank you once again, Waceke, and we are looking forward to next week. Let me ask that we rise to our feet. And even as we rise to our feet, remember, for those of you who are visiting with us today, it's your first time or your second time, we invite you to our guest reception to my right, up to the right of the pool, up the stairs is a guest reception. Please do meet with some of our members. We would love to meet you and to know you. For the rest of us, please remember, all you need to do is to turn left and you commune over tea. As we close, we are reminded in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verses 58 that therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not in vain. Your labor in the Lord is not in vain. May you have a blessed week. Looking forward to seeing you on Sunday. Be blessed. Wonderful week. Thank you, and God bless.